Now, we've heard from a lot of religious organizations today, and there are a lot of churches. And over in Fort Bend, we have kind of brought together representatives of a group of their churches, but they will let you know by no means that it is all the churches in Fort Bend. So I'll let you introduce yourselves and say your affiliations.
Okay, my name is Vicki Dalton. I am the mission director for Calvary Church at the Fountains.
Okay.
I'm Tim Shoulders. I'm the Body Life Minister at the Sugar Grove Church of Christ, which is in Meadows Place.
I'm Scott Lester. I'm the English minister at Southwest Chinese Baptist Church.
And my name is Anthony Dunn. I'm with the Southwest Chinese Baptist Church also.
Okay, tell me a little bit about, because when I get my paperwork here, there's a whole bunch of churches listed here, and you say not one single site. What was the affiliation between all the churches and the organizations, and what has changed since all of this has happened?
Well, actually, for several years now, based on Mission Houston, our churches in the area, the Southwest, Sugar Land, Stafford, Missouri City pastors have been gathering on a regular basis in the community, meeting with government leaders, business community leaders, and meeting on a regular basis, developing relationships so that when this storm hit, we already had that relationship. When the mayor called us at the time of the hurricane, we already had relationships, and as he said earlier, within 12 hours we were all sitting in his office because we were already connected.
Tell me a little bit about what the importance is of the churches being interconnected, because when you think about it, each of these churches, or a lot of the different groups of churches, are different religions, different organizations. Why is it important that they all come together?
Well, our church building is right in the middle of where all the hotels are on Highway 59 in Fort Bend County, and we got inundated with evacuees real quickly. And for us, it was too big for us to do alone. And so one of the very important things of it is all of us working together can do something that none of us alone could do.
Yeah. Also, same question over there.
For us, we knew about the Ministerial Association in the county, but had not been very involved in that. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting at home, I'm seeing all this need, and a friend of mine calls and says, "Hey, you need to talk to the Fort Bend ministers there. They've got this great organization set up." And immediately it was an avenue to communicate not only where people were already working and serving, so that you didn't duplicate and duplicate your efforts, but it was also an opportunity to share a lot of resources. We could through emails we were able to get information that we could pass on in the hotels where we were serving.
And over there.
Yeah, I think for our churches, seen a lot of time, just like Pastor Scott said, we have a lot needed that we need in different areas. And I think it's a good idea that we all, churches within our area, share the whole responsibility to serve the whole community.
Yeah. I think one thing, too, and it might sound like a dumb question to ask, but I'll ask anyway. Why did so many people turn to churches at this time? And what did that tell you about our community today?
Well, one of the things that the pastors have been doing is setting in place the idea that we have too long stayed within our church boundaries. And our pastor, my pastor, Kerry Wood, is the catalyst for the Southwest Houston area, and he's built relationship with other pastors to bring those walls of denominations down, but also to build with the community with the idea that we're here to serve the community. That's what church is about, is serving, and so that's what he was setting in place.
Did it make you proud to see people come together and to rely on the churches?
Yes, it was very touching to us that one of the things we said over and over was, I don't know if we have helped them more or if they have helped us more, that it was such a privilege on our part to get to experience the incredible thankfulness that time after time we saw people who came through our church just express gratitude that was unbelievable.
Well, you hear so much, too, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but so many people feel like, well, the church is the church and should be the place for worship, but that they don't turn to it in times of need, or we think that we won't turn to it in times of need. But when a moment like this really hit and people really needed it, where did they turn back to? They turned, of course, to their governments for help, but then so many people turned to the churches, and they were there for them.
Yeah, and in fact, in Fort Bend County, I'm really proud of how the church has responded in Fort Bend County. because we very quickly stepped up and the churches began acting as helping where that no other agencies were helping, that a lot of our people that were in the hotels, we had thousands upon thousands in hotels, didn't have any other agencies helping them, that they weren't in a shelter, so they weren't getting that immediate help. And so the churches were the ones who immediately stepped up and were able to help get jobs, get fuel, help find places to stay, paid for hotel rooms, and as time has gone along, housed tons of houses and apartments with furniture. And so have just been a lot of things like that happen that those people didn't have any other resource to turn to. And the churches were able to do that for
Well,
them.
a lot of time on the show that we have here, The Connection, we bring together different religions and different churches to talk about the common importance of what a church does. And I think at a time like this, you realize doctrine takes a back seat to helping people in the community. And I think that's such an important lesson for people to see, all right, these churches might not all agree on what they do, but when a time of need comes, everyone stepped up and helped each other out.
Well, I think one of the things that we saw too is not only was it the church, but the community and the government, because I think the government was basically overwhelmed with the magnitude of the disaster that we faced. Now, what you find at a time like this is a heart matter. I mean, we all sat at home and watched on TV all week long all of the tragedy that was unfolding, and we wanted to do something, and it was one person to another ministering or serving each other. And it wasn't a church thing, it wasn't a government thing, it was a person to a person. When you have an individual who has been in the hospital and all of a sudden they're told the hospital's closing and you have to leave, and they come to you and they're in their house shoes and that's all they have, that heart need takes over, and all of a sudden it's one individual seeing after another.
Now, we all know of all the important things that you were doing, and the feeding and the sheltering and the clothing, but now that all of this has passed and fallen off the front page of the newspaper, these works still go on. What is it that people can do to help your organizations today?
Well, we have a number of things that are still going on at all the different churches. Each church is doing something different from church to church. One of the things Second Mile was on earlier, that all the churches have been working with Second Mile, so that would be very important for people that could volunteer to connect with Second Mile. But a lot of the churches are still doing ongoing work with families that are settling here. One of the churches did some work and determined that about 45% of the families they originally came in contact with are settling in the Fort Bend County area and are here to stay. And so we have these people living in our midst that are going to be here. A lot of them maybe permanently, and so they all need help setting up households. They need jobs. They're going to need just all those things. And a lot of the churches are doing continuing work with that. Plus, there are also some churches that are sending groups over into Louisiana and Mississippi, and taking supplies and taking work groups over there. So a number of the churches are gathering building materials, gathering supplies, and sending things that way. So things going on a few different fronts.
I would say probably then the best advice is to contact your local churches or the churches that we've talked with today and find out what their needs are and talk to them directly. Of course, you guys have set up a number where people can find out all the information for the churches in your area. And if I've got that correct, it's 281-530-1705. And you do hope, though, in the future to have a website that'll link all of the churches of Fort Bend together?
One of the neat things, one of the neat things that happened the day that the mayor called us is immediately we set up a pastoral communication group via the web where you could link on, and that's what Scott was speaking about earlier, so that whenever anybody involved in that relief effort needed information, they could go right there. You could log on as a member, and then you could see all of the correspondence that had happened.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it was awesome. It really saved a lot of time for everybody.
And one of the things that happened was in Fort Bend County, we did have all the churches adopt a hotel, but each hotel had a specific church tagged with them. And that church sent a team in that interviewed everybody in the hotel, found out their needs, and paid for rooms. And that's where we...
what a great idea.
Yeah, and so every hotel in Fort Bend County had a church.
They're giving me the wrap signal, but I'll go to you one more time because it looks like you're trying to get in there.
Well, I just want to say that one of the things that came out of this for me was that it really didn't matter the size of the church. There's several large churches in Fort Bend County that did an incredible amount of work, but also it was a lot of smaller churches that stepped up and said, we're not very big, but we can step up and do a little bit. And I think that's the lesson that I think the entire region can learn, is that every little bit helps, and when you pull that together, it makes an incredible difference.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming in and sharing your stories with us.